Once upon a time in a cozy little town, there lived a girl named Kiki. She is beautiful, with soft, glowing skin, and her cheeks were always rosy, not from hard work, but from her endless naps and lounging by the window. Kiki was the only child of a well-to-do family, and her parents adored her. They showered her with love, gifts, and a comfortable home. Yet, Kiki was known for one thing above all else: her outstanding laziness. Kiki's parents worried that their daughter had no sense of responsibility, and so they decided to entrust her with a large sum of money. They hoped that this would teach her about managing her own affairs and taking care of herself. But Kiki had other plans. Instead of using the money wisely, she spent it hiring people to do even the smallest chores. She paid one person to cook, another to clean, and yet another just to brush her hair. Soon enough, her days became a long string of naps, snacks, and hours spent admiring her reflection in the mirror. Time passed, and bit by bit, Kiki's money dwindled. One day, she counted her last few coins and realized with a shock that she was broke. She didn't have enough money to pay for her helpers, and so they started quitting their job one after another until there was no help left, and she certainly didn't have anything left for herself. Without any skills or desire to work, Kiki found herself stranded. Her cupboards were bare, with little or no food left in them. Her luxurious lifestyle was fading away. She sat on her bed, sighing, too lazy to even think about getting a job. Her worn, dirty clothes were piling up on the ground next to her bed. The floor was dusty and littered with used cans and candy wrappers. Kiki was too lazy to even clean up her living space. And just when Kiki was feeling truly hopeless, a town crier's voice rang out through the streets. Hear me," he shouted. Her Majesty the Queen announces a grand banquet in the palace to find a suitable hard-working bride for Prince Ali. All young maidens of noble hearts are invited. Kiki's eyes sparkled with excitement. She had heard rumors of the Queen's grand banquets, with tables piled high with delicacies and rooms filled with freebies. And if she could marry Prince Ali, she would never have to work again. Just when I thought all hope was lost, the universe sends me a box filled with goodies, she screamed excitedly as she danced around her dirty room. But as she moved towards her wardrobe, her heart sank when she caught sight of her threadbare dress and scuffed shoes. She hadn't bought any new outfit because of her poor condition at the moment, and she would never catch the prince's eyes wearing any of these old clothes. She thought to herself, "I need a new dress and shoes, and I need them fast." Reluctantly, Kiki decided to look for a job. "I will work just for a few days, earn enough money to buy a beautiful dress, and then I can stop," she thought, comforting herself. The next day, Kiki found a job at a bakery. And on her first day, the owner of the bakery, Mr. Dean, asked Kiki to make 10 loaves of bread and place them on the sales counter. Kiki started by kneading the dough. Halfway through it, her whole body was covered with flour, and she was already tired. "What do I do now? My arms are weak from kneading this dough. How am I supposed to make 10 loaves of bread like this?" she thought out loud. After a few minutes, Kiki observed carefully as the bakery owner stepped out. She picked some paper bags and folded them to look like loaves of bread. She stashed them under the basket and then placed 3 well-done bread on top of the paper to seem like the basket was full of bread. She didn't care if this was going to cost the owner dearly. All she was interested in is taking the wage of the day. When Mr. Bean got back, he saw the basket well placed on the table, with the good loaves on top. He felt Kiki had done a good job, and so he gave her a bag of coin for her hard work, without knowing that Kiki did not make 10 loaves of bread as he instructed. Kiki took the bag of coin and hurriedly left the bakery. She never returned there again. After counting the coin she had made from the bakery, Kiki was still short of the amount needed to buy a new dress and shoes. And so she set out to get another job. She came across a fruit vendor by the roadside, and she asked him if he needed help. The old man was happy and offered her a job. Some of the fruits in this basket are rotten, and they contaminate the good ones. Can you please sort out this basket and separate the good fruits from the bad ones? The old fruit seller asked Kiki. Yes, I can do that, she replied excitedly. The old man nodded and left for the market to purchase more fruits for his shop. Kiki yawned tiredly as she looked down on the basket of fruits. I am too tired for this. Moreover, I can't soil my hands picking out rotten fruit, she said to herself. Kiki carefully arranged the shiny and fresh-looking fruits at the top of the basket, giving the impression that she has sorted out the rotten ones. When the old shop owner returned, he was excited to see the fresh fruits on top of the baskets, and so he thought Kiki had done the job as they agreed. He dipped his hand into his shirt and handed a bag of coin to Kiki. She took the coin and ran back home. She never went back to that shop again. Kiki repeated the same deceitful tactics the next day with the old woman who needed help to wash her clothes. She turned the clothes to the back, soaked them in water, and hung them, telling the old woman she had washed them clean. She took the bag of coin offered to her and ran back home. The next day, Kiki counted her coins and realized she had enough already. She hurried off to buy herself a sparkling gown and glittering shoes. The day of the banquet finally arrived, and Kiki dressed herself with great care. She gazed at her reflection, certain that the prince would fall in love with her beauty and elegance. She imagined herself as a princess, lounging on velvet cushions and enjoying a life of endless luxury without having to work or stress herself. She gave herself an approving nod and headed to the palace. At the banquet, the grand hall was filled with laughter, music, and people dressed in their finest clothes. Kiki stepped in, her chin held high, catching the eyes of the guests with her striking dress. She felt confident that she would be the belle of the ball. She stood with the other maidens as they awaited the royal family. Then came the moment when Prince Ali was ushered in with his mother, the queen. He began to walk through the crowd, speaking to each guest and the beautiful maidens. He was kind and charming, with a warm smile. And Kiki's heart fluttered as he approached her. But before he could say a word, a voice rang out from across the hall. It was Mr. Dean, the bakery owner. He pointed at Kiki, his face stern. That is the girl who lazed around my bakery, pretending to work and eating up half the goods. The old fruit seller also stood up and screamed out from the other end of the room. Yes, that is the girl I asked to sort out rotten fruits when she came to look for a job. And she deceived me and took my money. Another shop owner stepped forward, followed by another, each one describing how Kiki had tricked them, taking their money while hardly lifting a finger. Soon, murmurs filled the hall as more and more people shared stories of Kiki's schemes and laziness. Kiki's cheeks flushed red, and she sank under the disapproving stares of the other guests. The queen, sitting at the head of the banquet, stood up and cleared her throat. A person who wishes to join the royal family must possess more than beauty. They must have a noble heart and a sense of duty to others. Kiki, it seems you have forgotten these important qualities. Being a princess requires a lot of work. There is barely any time to sit around. You must have misread this important memo, and too many complaints about your laziness and dishonesty have been brought to this palace. You are not qualified to be royal, the queen said, as her voice roared across the room. With those words, the guards escorted Kiki out of the banquet. She left in tears, her dream of becoming a princess shattered. But as she walked home in her now ragged dress and scuffed shoes, Kiki felt really bad for having deceived people in order to get their money. She made up her mind to amend her ways. The next day, Kiki visited the bakery. She volunteered to work without getting paid to atone for her wrongs. She worked tirelessly, helping out in kneading the dough, arranging the bread, and cleaning up the floor. The bakery owner, Mr. Dean, was impressed and gave her a basket of bread that would last a while. She also visited the old fruit vendor and the other people she had wronged as a result of her laziness. She cleaned up her house, washed her dirty clothes, bought some cookbooks to learn how to cook. She took on other jobs as well, saving her earnings bit by bit. Slowly, she learned the value of hard work and the pride that comes with it. Years later, Kiki became known not just for her beauty, but for her kindness and work ethic. And though she never became a princess, she built a life for herself, one that was productive and fulfilling. And whenever she felt tempted to lazy around or take the easy way out, she would remember the lesson she learned that night at the Queen's banquet. This is the end of my story.